So you can please state your name and your birthday.
Yes, my name is Henry Diltz, and I was born September 9th, 1938, in Kansas City. So I'm not a beach guy, I'm a Laurel Canyon guy, but Venice was always there, you know. You just go out to the edge of the country and there's sand and a beach, and it was always the cool place to go, you know, where all the cool people were. I was a folk musician, and I moved to LA in about 63. Moved right into Laurel Canyon, where all the musicians lived. One day on the road, we all picked up these little funky secondhand cameras and started snapping pictures of each other. And that was fun. And then when we had all the film developed, they turned out to be slides. I didn't even know. Somebody handed me here's your film, you know, the first time. And it was transparencies. And I said, oh, they're slides. Let's have a slideshow. So when I had all my stoned hippie friends gathered, and we had a big slideshow of these pictures that they were in, it blew my mind, you know, to see these scenes 8 feet wide glowing in the dark, you know, and it was like, I said, wow, it's like you're right there, you're right back. And then one by one, they all became famous. I mean, Stephen Stills, Mama Cass, David Crosby. And then I met a guy who was a graphic artist named Gary Burden, and he knew a lot of people as well. We started doing album covers together. One of the covers was Crosby, Stills, Nash sitting on the old couch by the house, their first album cover. And soon after that, the Doors called us and said, we want you to do our album cover. So we went to their office in West Hollywood, Gary and I, and Jim Morrison and Ray Manzarek were there in their little office clubhouse. We said, okay, well, have you got a title? And they said, no, we don't have a title. We said, okay, well, do you have an idea of something you might want on your cover? And they said, no, you know, that's why we called you guys. We thought of coming to Venice. I'm sure they said, let's just do it in Venice for sure.
I know you told the story about Ray meeting Jim on the beach. Will you tell that
Oh yeah,
story
well,
related to you?
Ray told us the story. We were filming a video about album covers, and he said, yeah, I was on the beach in Venice one day, just kind of lying back, and I saw a figure walking down the beach, you know, and I said, well, that looked like Jim Morrison that I just finished film class with a while ago, and said he came walking down the beach, you know, with the jaw like Steve Canyon, kind of, I don't know, and I said, hey, Jim, what have you been doing? And he walked over, and he said, I've been writing poetry. And he started reciting, like, let me take you to the moon or something. And he said, as he was speaking, my fingers, I could feel them feeling the chords to go with his poem. That was the birth, out right on the sand at Venice Beach. Yeah. I remember one of the first shots we took was not on the beach, but a block away. There was an empty lot, and on the side of the building, next to the empty lot, was a big mural of Venice. And what it actually was a mirror image. If you looked at that mural and then turned around, you'd see the same picture in reality. It was like it was a big mirror showing the view looking down the beach. And so they stood in front of that mural for a while and goofed around, and we took pictures. And I remember there was a kind of a green clothing mannequin that was leaning against the wall around the corner. And I think Ray or somebody got that and put that in the group, you know, and then there were shots of them with the green mannequin next to them. And so I was clicking pictures and taking a little Super 8 movies, a little silent Super 8 once in a while. And we were kind of walking towards the Venice Pier, which was this great big lovely pier that, you know, went out into the ocean, which then years later got washed away in a big storm, and it's not there anymore. And but we walked down to the pier, went under the pier, and we took some shots under where the pilings are, holding the pier up. And they're all kind of standing there because it was a sunny day, but in there it was nice open shade, open light. It was perfect, like a natural photo studio, you know. And as they were standing there, kind of looking out at the water and stuff, a surfer came shooting the piles, what they call surfing around those big posts in the water. John Densmore, the drummer, was a surfer. So in the shot that I have of them, they had been kind of standing there looking around, and suddenly he's going, whoa, like that, whoa, gnarly, and he's leaning over and looking out, and then they all look at the surfer. And the surfer comes surfing up right next to me, and they have a little conversation. I think we had a picture of him with this board, you know, and the doors. And I remember at one point, Jim had some kind of a pint of some kind of liquor, probably Ripple, you know, that was what we would buy for a couple of bucks, in a paper bag. And I remember I was taking a little Super 8 movie of him, and he looked around, he picked the thing up, took a swig, kind of went, whoa, like that, and kind of looked away. I thought, wow, that is like such a heroic thing. You know, Jim was kind of a heroic guy, and he was also a very quiet guy. He was a poet. He was an observer. The word I always use, people say, what was Jim really like? And I say, he was bemused. Bemused means kind of, you know, inner amusement, kind of, I mean, alert, looking around, kind of nodding, checking it all out, but not demonstrative. I mean, that whole day on the beach, I doubt if I had a conversation with Jim at all. He was more laid back, observing. You could almost feel the poems going on in his head, you know. I really liked that about him. He was quiet and observant, you know, and I'm kind of that way myself, you know. Plenty with the other guys. I mean, Ray was like a college professor, you know, who were always talking and commenting, and that's what the conversation was. Jim was just kind of quiet, just kind of hanging out, coming along, you know. Someone had painted in big black letters, P-O-T, on the cement of the bridge going out, on the side of the bridge, pot. And so we had to go over there and take photos. They kind of sat on the sand and stood around it, you know. I think someone got up on the bridge and looked down, and we took a few shots of the pot, you know, because pot, or God's herb, as I call it, was something that all musicians smoked. That's that, you know. I always say, how do you think all that music, you know, happened? I mean, literally, every single, this was the peace and love, brotherhood, hippie, right generation kind of, and everybody would have a little toke of God's herb because it made you relax, it made you feel better, it made you want to pick up your guitar and play. You know, when the day was over, I remember Jim and Ray had a favorite Mexican restaurant that was right there on the little cement walkway, the little L-shaped counter. And we kind of filled the whole counter up with the four of them, and Gary and I, 6 people. And we had some lovely burritos there for dinner, and I took pictures of that. You know, we never had a plan. It was always just, come on, we're going to hang out and take a walk and see what happens, you know. God's waves and God's sand and God's sunshine. That's always nice to see. I remember the day fondly.